The time having arrived at 7 p.m., I would request that the clerk commence to call the roll.
Councilmember Sammons.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Hazen.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Roberts. Wu.
Here.
Mayor Marlin.
Here.
Okay, for the first item of business, approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Motion. Yes, Mary Alice.
I'll move approval of the meeting minutes.
Do we see a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mary Alice, would you take the chair for just a moment?
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to take the chair.
I have one suggestion for wording. This doesn't actually change the meaning, but it changes somehow the tone. Here we go. So there's one sentence that says, Alderman Brown expressed his gratitude to the Urbana Police Department for their participation at the shooting event that took place this past Friday. And I would suggest altering participation at to response to, if that's okay with Mr. Brown.
Yes, that's good. Good with me. Thanks.
Okay.
Would you like the chair back?
I'll take the chair back.
Okay.
And Charlie, do we need a vote on that amendment?
Well, just
Voice.
move the as corrected.
Okay, so we're ready to move to vote on as corrected. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. And so we have checked that off our list. Does anybody have additions to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll proceed on to public input. And I have 3 sheets. One is from Reverend Dr. Evelyn B. Underwood, who would like to speak at the time to item 8, 2018-08-054. So I will, and do you wish to speak prior to the council discussion or following? At the time, okay, okay. I'll call on you then. And then Reverend Dr. Underwood also wishes to not address the council, but express her concern about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer problem, and express her continual concern about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer problem. And Eldris Melinda Carr also does not wish to address the council, but wishes to express continued concerns about Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer issues, equity, and the historic impact thereof. Okay, any other public input? Seeing none, do we have presentations tonight? Seeing none, staff report. Seeing none, we move now to resolution number 2018-08-038R, resolution authorizing entry into electronic document recording service agreement, an electronic filing agreement for filing documents with the Champaign County Recorder's Office. And this is from legal.
Yes, thank you. Recently, we became aware that the County Recorder's Office is using a software program supported by a Utah company, and the program is called Simplifile. It allows people, including the city and its various departments, to file liens and other documents which are typically placed and recorded with the recorder's office. It allows city staff to file these electronically and from their desks. We have set up several accounts, one for Public Works, one for CD, one for legal. I believe that's the extent of it, and maybe one in finance. And by doing so, it saves time which employees otherwise were expending on driving to Brookins Center to record these things. So it saves time. It's far more efficient. We get notice or a copy of the document listed as being stamped as being recorded, and more government offices all across the country, including the recorders, the courts, other government offices are going with electronic filing.
Okay. Yes, Mary Alice?
So I see that each document is $3 submission fee, right? So approximately how many documents are submitted every year?
I have no idea, but most of them are liens, and that $3 submission is recoverable when we get the lien paid, whenever that is. Typically,
Okay.
cutting grass, notice is sent with a bill by Public Works that, we've asked you to cut your grass, you didn't cut your grass, we went ahead and cut it, and here is the invoice for cutting it, and if they don't pay it, another little stronger letter is sent, and then still if they don't pay it, a lien is filed. And then it sits there until we take action or the property is sold.
Mayor Marlin?
We can get you a figure for next week.
Okay. I don't assume that it's over 100 in a year. I mean, that's $300, but it would just be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a given period, I can tell you, I can find out what legal does, but as the mayor indicated, she has more leverage to get the information than I do.
Yes, Mary Alice?
I'd like to move, let's see here, resolution number 2018-08038R with a recommendation, forward to council with a recommendation for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Now we have ordinance 2018-08-054, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code sections 253, 254, 255, 269, 270, 271, and 129 regarding city administrative positions. And these are changes to reflect changes in officer titles. This comes jointly from legal and from the mayor. And Reverend Dr. Underwood, would you choose to address now, or do you want to hear us discuss first?
I think I would like to hear you discuss first.
Okay.
Because in looking at all of this, there's a problem with clarity.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Someone is not part of government, and I just see what you say.
Okay.
And I ask some of the questions that I have here as a result of reading it.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so legal or mayor wish to kick off?
Thank you again. We have a position in the city called administrative officer, and sometimes that position is referred to as city, or a chief administrative officer. Sometimes it's referred to as chief administrative officer. However, there never was created a chief administrative officer. We neither have a chief administrative officer nor an administrative officer. We now have a city administrator, and the position has been filled. We didn't need to, but the mayor and I thought it was appropriate to create within the ordinances, the Urbana City Code, the office of city administrator. And in an effort to avoid changing a whole number of ordinances, it basically provides the same qualifications and duties, but it also says that any other place chief administrative officer or administrative officer is used anywhere in our code, that it would be deemed to mean city administrator. So that's one. Another change is city collector. Since I've been here, 5.5 years, and probably long before I got here, we have not had a city collector. As far as city comptroller, at the time Elizabeth Hannon was hired, internally the position was renamed from comptroller, obviously an archaic designation for what she does, to finance director. We thought it was appropriate to provide for that change as well. There's also another provision called, I think it was budget officer. We don't have a budget officer. That position is assumed by the finance director. So these are basically bringing the code up to, the 21st century, and in particular 2018. No substantive changes have been made.
Okay. Yes, Mayor Marlin.
And I believe the state required us to establish the Office of Budget Director. Is that correct?
Yes, but being a home rule unit of government and that particular section of the code not containing a home rule preemption, we are free to eliminate that office.
Okay. Are there comments or questions from council members or from Reverend Dr. Underwood?
I think you've cleared up a few things, but when I was reading it, it was not clear, and I know you directed your city clerk to publicize, and, once you pay. And people read it. And so I was hoping that, people will be able to understand what you're saying, especially since the other night when I was at the coalition meeting, I heard people talking about in Champaign, they're having governance 101 to teach people how to understand what's going on in Champaign government. I feel that, we can make things clear enough so maybe people listening in and looking in will be able to understand what we're trying to do here. That Office of the Budget Director, now, the way I was reading it, that you can still get that position. You can still have that position.
No, the finance director
Director.
is also the budget director.
Okay.
So
is
they're
that
one and
clear?
the same person, yes.
Okay, the
Yes.
same person now,
Yes.
but if you put that in the code,
Well,
I mean-
it does say, "The finance director shall undertake and perform the duties of the Office of Budget Director."
but then it said, would you have to change the Office of Budget Director since the state says that you have to have that office? Or you just said that since you're home rule, that you can actually,
We can do one of three things. We could keep the Office of Budget Director. We can completely eliminate the Office of Budget Director and do nothing further, or we can devolve that person's duties to the Finance Director, which is what we did, which is frankly the
with
most
the
prudent approach.
comptroller. Yeah,
Well-
the comptroller, you had the comptroller, and when she came over, Ms. Haddon, she became the
Yeah.
finance director.
Right, and the Finance Director performs the duties that the comptroller had done before. It's just a title change. Her duties are no different than what existed before she got here.
And I was
Our
thinking about-
comptroller was basically the budget director,
Yes,
too.
yes. I've been watching for a long time. Now, I was just wondering, I know the city council, you can do kind of whatever you vote to do, but I'm talking about financially, if you decide that you could get a budget director in addition to a finance director, you can still do that because
Yes.
it's in here, right?
We could do that even if it wasn't in here. We would
Okay.
reinsert the Office of Budget Director and describe his or her duties and how that person is selected by
And there'll be
appointment.
more finances going to
And there'd be
that,
another
yeah.
person in the
Yes,
Finance Department.
Yes. So I just wanted, people can understand when I was looking at, they could get another position, and add it on in there. So we're trying to budget cut,
Right.
You know, and I was wondering, can we get other positions, or do we have enough people in order to fill what you were saying here?
I believe we do have enough people because the very same people that are in the finance department have been and are performing all of these functions, at least for the 5.5 years and probably well before I got here.
Things were kind of set up differently then, you know, and a lot of things were mishaps and all until Elizabeth, I don't mean to call her, Miss what's that, how you say her name?
Hannon?
Hannon came and kind of brought things together. Remember, it was a lot of work that had to be done. So, lastly, would you get to the one on May 29th, the whereas? May 29th. I know my time is running out. May 29th, okay. Okay.
The
On
third
May
one from the
29th,
bottom?
2018, the mayor appointed, I'm sorry?
You're talking about the third one from the bottom on May 29th?
29th, 2018, the mayor appointed and the city council approved its advice and consent to the mayor appointment of Carol Mitten to serve as city administrator, thereby de facto changes the title of the administrative officer to the city administrator, and you go on and on. But what about this de facto?
What that means is, it's a lawyer term, a Latin term,
But there's a lot of people
but
out
in fact, as a practical matter, she was given the title of city administrator with the same responsibilities as the administrative officer or chief administrative officer, depending on which part of the code you look at. Those people presumably are one and the same, administrative officer and chief administrative officer, but Ms. Mitten was given all those responsibilities. So in effect, as a practical matter, operationally within the city, you know, de facto, she became in essence the administrative officer, but we elected to change the title.
So she became the city administrator.
She became the city administrator
Okay.
and is the city administrator.
Is the city
Yes.
administrator currently. Now, go on down there quickly. Come back a little bit. Then you go into section 1. What is all of that got to do with what we just said? Because it was kind of confusing when we got there to section 1.
The section 1 lists, if you're talking about at the top of the second page,
Section
that just
1 of
lists,
benefit account,
that-
Code Chapter 2, administrative, okay, yes.
that's done for two purposes.
Okay.
One is to identify the very specific sections and articles and subsections that are in fact changed by this ordinance. And it's also to give Muni Code, our electronic host of our Urbana City Code, knowledge on where to look where all these changes are. So it's to help them, because we are publishing this, once it's adopted, after next week, we will submit it to Muni Code and say, please amend Muni Code as written now to comport with this ordinance, if it passes.
So essentially, that's just a redundancy?
It's just a list of what's been changed for clarification.
Okay, I think that's all. I just wanted to know that you still have the authority to add another position because the state said you could.
City has the authority to add any reasonable position it deems appropriate and can pay for.
So the city council with the mayor with the advice of the city council, and
The mayor would, if the position is to be an appointed position, she would list the individual on an agenda as a staff appointment, and then the council would be asked to give its advise and consent, i.e. approval, to the making of such appointment. There are many employees in the city that are not appointees, and there's, as you know, they're civil service, and the mayor has the authority to hire those folks without presenting them to the city council. There's only a group of us appointees that are submitted, well, the existing ones annually, typically in May or June, and then if new ones come on, she wants to make a person appointee, she will submit it to the council.
This is an aside. How my time comes?
It's hard to judge here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're doing okay.
You seem to be temporarily on the council.
I was just asking some questions. Now, lastly, the finance director, I think that's her title.
Director, finance director.
She's under the mayor, under the administrator,
I can answer that.
city administrator.
And I'm going to let the mayor answer that.
I have two things to say. One is all these changes are basically done to update our city code to reflect what we really have as far as our positions in the city today. Some of these positions are years out of date, and we've never changed it. So we're just cleaning up our city code so that it reflects the positions that we have today. And if things need to change in the future, then we'd be back at the council asking for that to change. But this is getting our administrative positions updated to reflect the people that we have in place today with their proper titles. And secondly, you asked about the chain of reporting.
Chain of command.
The finance director is a department head. The finance director reports through the city administrator to the mayor.
Okay, thank you.
And I think Mr. Brown had a point.
Yeah, in section 1, it refers to language appearing as stricken through being deleted and language appearing as underlined being added, but we seem to have gotten like a clean version with no striking or underlining. So I wonder if maybe for next week we could get the striking and underlining version.
You can. I thought we had submitted the red line version to you. This is, appears to be the final version. I will absolutely get that to you.
Okay, thanks.
You can get the striking underline version online. That's what I downloaded.
Oh, okay. It just wasn't in our packets.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you still like me to separately so you have
No,
access
I
to
can get
it?
it online.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, I don't believe we yet have a motion on the floor. Yes, we do have a motion, I believe. No, okay. I would entertain a motion.
I'll move ordinance number 2018-08-054, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code sections 2-532-54, 2-552-69, 2-702-70, 2-71, and 2-129 regarding city administrative positions. These are changes in the Urbana City Code to reflect and update officer titles.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moved by Jared, seconded by Dean. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor of sending this to council with a recommendation for approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.